So we're going to do this logo, and we're going to do this in Illustrator. Now I'll go ahead and open up Illustrator. So first thing I probably want to do, let's open up Illustrator. When you open it up, it has all these options here. So you have to think about, what are you doing with it? What are you going to, like, is it going to be on the web? Obviously it can, you can go from different platforms, but so when you start Illustrator, I'm just going to go ahead and select the default letter, and that'll bring up a piece of paper. And so Illustrator is, if you've ever used like a McPaint or a Photoshop, it's not that. This is much more similar to a CAD software, in that it's what we call vector based. So for example, here's the menu on the left, and there's lines. If you use something like Paint or Photoshop, you're essentially looking at pixels. So if you've ever zoomed in, and we've had issues where you downloaded an image and the quality is not there, it's because it's pixels. This is a vector, right? So a vector is essentially splines. And so no matter how much I zoom in on this, so let's go ahead and zoom in. Unlike a pixel, I can zoom in a bazillion times and it never gets pixelated, because it's what's called vector based, right? So vector based is very different than a Photoshop. And so the kind of skills you learn in an Illustrator are very similar to what you might do in a advanced CAD. And again, this is really all 2D. So but it's very helpful. So what I'm going to do then is, to do this exercise, I'm going to go ahead and import a picture. Now, one thing you should see though is, you kind of want to come up here and find out where all your tools are, and so you get yourself familiar with this. So what I'm going to do here is, I'm going to go make sure my layers are turned on, right? So if I turn them off, they'll go away, but you'll see it right here. So layers are your best friend, because what that enables you to do is, for example, if I'm, let's just go ahead and create a new layer, and I'm going to say squiggle, all right, or whatever I want to call it. There it is. I can go ahead and I can make my lines, whatever I want to do. All right, and there it is. And so I can always just, you'll notice I can turn it off and on, right? So your layers are kind of your best friend. I can lock it. So there's things I can do. So then it won't let me do anything. So it's very helpful. So let's go ahead and do this. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to take that Nike logo and I'm going to download it. So I essentially click it, and you'll notice it should download. And there's a whole bunch of different ways I can do this. I can right click here, and I can say show in folder, and I can go into Illustrator, I can import it. Another way that I like to do, let's just turn this off, is just go ahead and drag and drop. Most modern softwares let you drag and drop. And so, for example, what that should happen then is, get my Illustrator open, my Nike logo open, I should just be able to drag it and drop it right in there. All right, so there it is. That's my Nike logo. So I don't need my learning management system anymore. And so what you want to do is get it in there, place it where you want. I'm fine with it where it is, but I want to lock this layer, because I'm going to go over it and draw it again. So I'll go here and I'll say new layer. All right, and I'll say my logo. All right, or whatever you want to call it, my Nike logo, and I'll say okay. All right, so what I can do then is I can turn the one off and on. It's really important that you do this, that you understand what how you can work with layers, because you don't want to use the original one. You want to make your own. And so this is a picture, right? That's why it's all pixelated. And so we're going to make our own layer. And there's a lot of different ways you can do it. So you'll notice up here, if you can't find your tool, and if you see that arrow, what that means is there's more tools inside of it. So if I right click, you'll see all these features, right? So you just got to get familiar with what's going on. So what we're going to do is use the pen tool, and you're going to see add anchor point, delete anchor point, but we're essentially going to add anchor points. And so what you want to know in Illustrator is less is more. All right. So let's go ahead and figure out what that means. I can choose colors. I'll just pick a red, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start. I've got my new layer here. I'm just going to go ahead and start it. All right. Okay. So and then I'm going to go ahead and click on here. So let's do that again. I'll show you what I'm doing. So I'll click, and what I did is I undid it. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and click. Let's see. Be nice to me, please. So we'll go here. I'll go to pen tool. And then I'm going to just click. And I'm going to hold it down and I'm going to move it. You'll see these splines. And if you look real carefully, I can control what it does. And I'm just holding it down. It just takes practice. So remember, less is more. So I'm going to click there. Then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to click. I should probably do this backwards, but I'll click here. And then I'm going to just point it the direction I want to go. And I'm holding on to it. It just takes some practice. I'm going to put it there. All right. Now I'll go to the end here. And so this one isn't going to be, this is just going to be a point. So I'll just hit the point here. And you'll notice right here that there's like, I can either make it like an angle or it's curved. So now I'll just come back here and I'm kind of working blindly, but that's okay. I'll click this and I'll hold it. All right. And then I'll do another one maybe here. And I can modify this later. And then I'm going to just go ahead and close it up. Right. So I'm going to hit and close it. Right. So what I'm going to do now is, if you look on this top, there's kind of two different arrows. There's one that grabs everything. And then there's one that just grabs the splines itself. So I'll go ahead and select the small one. And then I should be able to just move these vectors around, right? So it gives me control. And so you can move them around. If, for example, you're like, uh-oh, that was supposed to be a point. This is in the properties on the right. What you can do is you can change it. For example, if let's zoom in on this and say, oh, why is that a point? I want that to be something different, like it's a curve. I can click over here and on the properties, I can open it up, right? Obviously, that's not what I want to do. It would be forever trying to figure that out. So I'll go to convert and I'll make that a point. So, you know, that is really it. Now, having said that, it's not that easy, right? So, you know, you're going to want to change your vectors and all that. The other thing you can do is, if you remember when I started it, I right clicked on it here and I can delete and add anchor points. So let's say now, uh-oh, you know, that doesn't look right. I need less. Usually less is more. If you notice, I only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points in all. A lot of students will put like 30 points in there. It's much more work. So you want to do as less as you can. So if I want to delete an anchor point, I come in here and delete it, right? It doesn't want it, so I probably Control Z for undo. But if I want to add an anchor point, right, I'd right click and say add anchor point. And you know, maybe I wanted another one here. And then it should just automatically go in the middle, right? And so you also have a lot of the controls over here on the left, right? You can see there's the minus. It gives you a lot more control. I don't want, I kind of want to stop it at there. I don't want to get too much more into it because it is, if you've never done it, it can be a little overwhelming. But what I'm going to do then is I've got that and I can turn it off, right? I can turn the Nike off. But let's go ahead and I want to do this font. And fortunately, this is an easy font. So I'm going to say new layer and let's type Nike font, right? All right. So, and then I'm going to go ahead and type it. Essentially, I'm not going to type it. I'm going to draw it in. So again, what I'm going to do then is I can change color. There's also a lot of other cool stuff I can do where I can do fills and all that. But so just real quick, what I'll do is using the same tool, right click, pen tool. I'm just going to start here and come up. And I'm just clicking, less is more, click. I'm not holding it. I'm just holding down. I just click and move on. I can't see behind it. So I'm just going to guess, but I can go back and change that. And then you always want to close it. So there's my end. Now, obviously I can come in and say, oh, that doesn't look right. I can change it. If I want to change my color later, I could just go in here, you know, change it to something else. So let's go ahead and make another one here. So I'll select out of it, do the pen tool again. And I'm going to do the eye. And so this is your assignment for today. All you're doing is copying this logo. I know because I've done this enough, I might make it look easy. It's not. You know, it took me a long time to learn how to use Illustrator, but it is just practice, right? So less is more. Click and you will essentially turn in. This is the assignment. So the other thing you're going to notice is let's do this last one. This E, it's actually behind. So you could cheat and just make half an E, but what I recommend you do is this. So let's change this color. You can make this any color you want, of course. Let's make another one, and I want to fix this, so I can go just with this one. If I click the selection tool on the left, it just does the whole thing, which sometimes you want, and sometimes you just want to get into the individual pieces. All right, so it takes a little bit of practice. Sometimes you might have to double click, reactivate that. All right, so now what I'll do is I want to do this E. And so you want to start fresh. So let's do a different color. Maybe this one will be, I might do a different fill. But so what I might do is I'm going to go ahead and make it. So watch how I do this. So this one's going to be kind of different. Let's start here. And I'm just going to go ahead and draw where I think it is. All right. Now you're going to say, wait, Smith, that's in front of it. It should be behind it. So what I can always do, all right, so there it is I can take, if you notice, I can grab the font and I can just drop it behind it. There's things I can do. So let me do that again for you. I can grab this and put it on top. Come on, Smith, you can do it. There you go. All right, so I moved it. So whatever's on your layers on top is going to be the one that's visible. Now, apparently I didn't do a good job here because I noticed that maybe I ended it too much. So let's go in here to my, I'm on the layer here. So whatever layer I'm on is what I'm going to be working on. Since this is the layer with the font that's selected, let's go ahead, right click and say add anchor point. And let's put it right, let's see, we'll do it right here. Sometimes you need to put it, come on. Yeah, it's not being very nice to me. Get this active. You want to add an anchor point, but you get the idea here. So it's not being very nice to me. So what's happening is because I didn't close it, there is no line there. That's why you always want to close it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add between these 2 points. I'm going to right click and say add anchor point, and I'll put it in between here. And then I'll actually take, I think I actually need 2. Let's maybe put 2 in here. And then what I'll do is I'll take this arrow and I'll just go ahead and close this up. And then I'll take this one and put it here, and this one and put it here. You just have to kind of watch what you're doing, right? So that looks good. I think I'm all done. There are patterns in here. If I spend some time to find them on the fills, like you can do polka dots. There's all sorts of really cool stuff you can do. We're not going to get into the PMS colors and all that fun stuff. We're just going to do whatever color feels good for you. And again, whatever's on top is going to be predominant here. So we don't want to
question.
All right, hang on here. All right. So then what I want to do, hold on, everybody, is I want to save it. I want to save it as 2 different ways. So, so let's just save it as, just so you know, PDF files or a PostScript or Adobe. But so you can save it as a PDF. If you save it as a PDF, that's fine, but you want to make sure that let's see, I need a place to put it. We'll just put it some random place here. You want to make sure that you are saving it. It's going to do it. That you can edit it, right? Because you want to be able to manipulate it. So a PDF, if you save it so you can edit it, it'll come back in. That you can preserve Illustrator. Or the other way you do it is you just save it as an Illustrator file. The problem with that is Illustrator files, so that's the Illustrator, either Illustrator or PDF. The Illustrator file, the only way you can ever see it or edit it is within Illustrator. So I don't care which one you do. PDF is probably better because that way you can always just open and look at it. We're going to be doing lots of stuff with that. So that is your assignment today. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Hopefully that is a good demonstration for you. And so you want to, actually what you want to give me is the PDF file. All right. So save it as a PDF, but make sure that you can edit it.